We went to Iceland, one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and we managed to screw it up just about as bad as you could. And if you're human, maybe you make mistakes and maybe you can learn from my mistakes. And if you're a perfect android, maybe you'll just enjoy laughing at the things that we screwed up and feeling superior. This podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, website, or online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Squarespace has beautiful award-winning templates that make your photos look beautiful without you having any design knowledge. They have award-winning 24/7 customer support to fix things if they do go wrong, though they really never do, and they are flexible enough to support any type of website. If you want to check out Squarespace, head to squarespace.com/Tony. Get a 14-day free trial, no credit card required. And if you love it, use the coupon code TONY to get 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace. Here's mistake number 1. I forgot to reset my camera settings. I have this whole pre-trip routine where I go through and I get the cameras all ready. I format the memory cards. I charge the batteries. But the last time I'd been using the cameras, they were on a tripod with a delayed shutter. So you know what happens. I get to Iceland and I pick up my camera and I hit the shutter and right away it's like waiting 5 seconds and I have no idea what's going on. Before you go someplace, set your camera to the settings where if something cool pops up, you'll be able to take a shot immediately. If you're really smart, you'll use those custom functions like 1, 2, 3 on the top of the dial. C1 should just be like, I'm ready to shoot anything. Maybe it's just program mode, but reset it so you don't screw up your first shot. Before I tell you the second thing I screwed up, let me thank Nick Page, a fellow YouTuber who teaches workshops in Iceland and other beautiful places. Check out Nick's channel. I met Nick just before we left for Iceland, and Nick was kind enough to give me some advice and locations that I should shoot, and we found it immensely helpful. So go check out Nick's channel. He has a lot to teach, and if you really want to get some awesome shots, take a trip with him. The second thing I screwed up was that I didn't clean my sensors. Didn't used to be a problem. With SLRs like our D850, we would go years without cleaning the sensor. They basically almost never need it. For some reason, these Sony cameras that we were traveling with attract dust like crazy. You get so much dust on those sensors and it's absolutely infuriating. Now, with landscape shots, it doesn't ruin it. You can see the dust in the sky and you can go up and clean it in post, but I don't like spending time at the computer and it takes a bunch of extra time. I had the foresight to actually bring one of those blowers, but the blower didn't get the dust off and the automatic sensor cleaning didn't get the dust off. And so as a result, both of our cameras just ended up with dust in every single shot. This is something Sony could definitely improve. With our Canon cameras, the shutter closes over the sensor when you take the lens off. With the Sony cameras, it doesn't do that. But even we found when we have never taken the lens off, dust somehow gets in there, and I think it's because they're not that well weather sealed. So in the future, I need to remember to always travel with a sensor cleaning kit, or at least clean it before we leave. The number 3 thing I screwed up really meant that we didn't get any great pictures, and that's that we didn't pace ourselves. You have to factor in the fact that you are human and you do not have unlimited energy, especially when you're traveling. You get tired, we all do. Iceland is this very weird place, especially in the summer, especially near the summer solstice when the days are the longest. They call it the midnight sun because the sun doesn't set until a little bit after midnight. The sun spends most of the time just straight up in the sky, and even at 8 o'clock, the sun is so high in the sky, it just looks like midday sun. And as a result, all of our lighting was just very high and flat. It's sort of a nightmare for landscape photographers. You want to shoot in those golden hours before sunset or those blue hours right after sunset, and that's almost impossible. Like, the sun gets nice around like 11:30 p.m. or so, and then the skies stay nice until maybe 3 or 4 a.m. and then the sun is back up high in the sky. So we would go out for a day of shooting at like 9 a.m., which is kind of the normal time we'd get up, and then we'd be exhausted by 9 p.m. when the sun is still up in the sky. If we were smart, we would have just slept until 4 o'clock and then gone out to shoot from, say, like 6 p.m. until 5 a.m. We would have just reversed the hours. That's not easy because there's no restaurants or anything open at that time, but if you're focusing on shooting in Iceland, definitely plan around those really weird sunrise and sunset times. And if you go in the summer, don't bring an astro lens because you're not going to see any stars. There are no stars in the summer. The number 4 thing I screwed up is power. Now it used to be, especially with the Sony cameras, you'd be running out of batteries all the time, but with the latest generation of Sony batteries, they work much better, they last much longer, but still you kind of want to charge it every night. So I brought my universal USB charger and plugged the cameras in every night, but you know what? It didn't stay in the outlet very well and it would slip out, which meant that overnight our cameras didn't charge and I ran out of batteries. And I even brought an extra battery, but I only brought one extra battery and we had 2 cameras. So by the second day, Chelsea was using the extra battery and I didn't have a battery at all, and that meant that I was shooting with my smartphone. I feel stupid. It was really painful. This is an easy mistake to make. Bring more batteries than you think you need and bring a USB charger so that you can charge it in your bag or something if something goes wrong. Also bring a car charger if you're renting a car so you can charge it as you go. I have more things that I screwed up, but first I want to take another moment to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. We use Squarespace to show off our portfolios, to make our pictures look awesome. It's not the same as Facebook. It's not the same as Instagram. You're not showing off a constant feed of what's new. You're letting people who are trying to get to know your work as a photographer see your very best work. And Squarespace does an amazing job of presenting that in a beautiful way, whether people are using their computer, using their tablet, using their mobile phone. Nowadays, people are on all sorts of devices, and unless you're a gifted full-time web developer, it's really hard to make it look good on a wide variety of formats with aspect ratios that are different. But the brilliant designers at Squarespace have done that, and it's easy for you to take advantage of it. Just head to squarespace.com/Tony. Get yourself a 14-day free trial. Make your pictures look awesome. Sort through your entire collection and find your 10 to 15 best photos that really show off your work. Make it an about page that's all about you. If you love it, if you think that's going to get people to know your work better, then use the coupon code Tony and you can sign up for 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace. The number 5 thing I screwed up. I shared my work too quickly. I get excited in a place like that and I want people to know what I'm doing, and so I tried to share pictures on Instagram the day that I took them, but I was tired and I didn't take my time to edit it properly. You know what I thought? I thought this picture's okay, it's good enough to share. I'm tired, I'm jet lagged, I'm just going to put it up on Instagram, and though it's not perfect, it's low res, nobody will notice. You know what? People did notice. I should have taken my time, edited it properly before sharing, and I probably shouldn't have been trying to share while I was traveling unless it's something very casual. But no, my Instagram page, I'm a photographer, people expect more of me. I'm sorry I failed you, I put up a picture that was lesser. Look, I later went back and made it better, but now it's too late. I don't want to share the same picture again. The number 6 thing I screwed up was I brought gear that I was unfamiliar with, and in this case it was the Peak Design tripod. Now, I don't want you to think that it's not a good tripod. It is, but it has one serious weakness, and that is if you shoot vertically, you cannot freely rotate it the way the head is designed. If you try to tilt it up or down, it hits these posts, and so then to work around that, you have to flip it around to the other side in order to get different angles. If you're making small adjustments, you're constantly flipping between left and right orientations. And I don't shoot vertical landscapes that often, but the thing about Iceland is it's a lot of waterfalls. It's a vertical place. And so I was shooting vertically constantly, and it became really frustrating, especially because I was often shooting through fences and putting the camera very close up to shoot through little gaps and stuff. And even just the flip in orientation, moving the camera over a few inches, was becoming really frustrating. I wish I'd put an L bracket on my camera or brought a different tripod that was just better suited to shooting vertically. My advice, don't bring brand new gear on a trip. Spend several weeks working with it, becoming expert with it before you take it someplace where you really need to get the shot. Thing I screwed up, number 7, I didn't save stuff offline. Anytime you go any place new, pull up your smartphone, open up Google Maps, and download all the maps offline. If you're going someplace that speaks a language you don't, open up Google Translate and download that language offline. Those are incredibly valuable tools. There were a couple of times in Iceland where we needed to get back or we needed to find a spot, but there was just no cellular signal and we were just out of luck, so it was kind of a pain. We would end up having to drive to some place like a hilltop where we could get a little bit of a signal and then looking at the map and figuring out where we went, but we definitely wasted time chasing a signal that I could have saved if I had just planned ahead a little bit. Make yourself a checklist and put download offline maps and languages on it. The last thing I screwed up was I brought a drone. Now, I absolutely love drones. They are a camera that will give you a perspective over the water, high up in the sky. It gives you unlimited possibilities, which is really powerful for landscape photography especially. And Iceland looks like such a beautiful place from the air that I brought my Mavic 2 Zoom, kind of my go-to drone now for travel. But every beautiful place I went, I would have this in my bag and I'd hike out, and then I would inevitably see a sign that says no drones. You know why? Because people hate drones. They do. They genuinely, they're annoying. They buzz around and they can also be dangerous. Like, you can fly them to places you can't necessarily retrieve them, so people could crash them into trees. They could crash them into the waterfalls where the batteries would potentially be bad. So I get parks wanting to ban drones, but that's frustrating as a photographer or a video maker. You see this beautiful scene and you know the best way to capture it would be from the air. I did find one place where I was allowed to fly a drone, but even then it became a frustrating experience because like every single time I fire up these DJI drones, they want to be recalibrated and they inevitably show a variety of different errors, and I did get it to fly, but it ended up being frustrated, and dragging this all the way to Iceland and carrying it around in my backpack for a bunch of days just to get one set of shots. Was it worth it to me? No, I think it was a mistake to bring my drone. That's it. Those are the 8 things I screwed up in Iceland. I would love to hear the lessons that you learned the hard way from travel. Let's go through the comments and figure out a checklist where we can maybe not make these same mistakes. And if you are perfect, and I know some of you are, I don't need to hear about it. You don't need to say, oh, I don't make mistakes. No, I only want to hear from those of you who, like me, are human and make mistakes and try to learn from them. Thanks to our sponsors, Squarespace. Squarespace makes websites for just about any kind of purpose, whether it's your doctor's office or your restaurant or your photography portfolio. They have professional designers, 24/7 support, and Chelsea and I have both used it for our portfolios for years, and they've been absolutely fantastic. Check it out at squarespace.com/Tony. Give it a 14-day free trial, no credit card required. If you absolutely love it, the coupon code TONY will get you 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace.